long time no see, BMI here today with a tournament report update for BSF Vietnam, which is the first BSF for the BP05 format. So it does follow after the SVE Master Championships, and it has a pretty different meta compared to what we saw in that particular tournament. So first of all, we have this patient sword list from the third place team. So they're running two cards that are a little bit different from what you would consider standard. So firstly, we have the one copy of Execution, which I presume is good for the mirror match. And then we have one copy of Narrator Brian, which is not great against Haven, but it's reasonable against the other decks, even though it is a bit of a faster format we're running into right now. So that is the sword list. Moving along, we have the Controll Ab deck. So this one is very interesting. It's running a lot of cards which you don't typically see, a lot of one-off techs such as Winged Inversion, but overall it is going back to the kind of Angel package where you want to get rid of your Israfils and your Alucards and then basically bring them back with your Necrocharge effects. They are running interesting cards like Rosa Meckwing Maiden. You don't see this too often, but it's basically a 1/3 ward, and when it evolves, you can draw a card. It's also running two copies of Gilzeray. So Gilzeray, when you have the Gilnelis on the board, you can banish stuff if it's on the field. And of course, they are just running 3 copies of the Gilnelis package. So it's very interesting. We haven't seen too much of this particular variant, but obviously it served them well if he made it to the top 3. So congratulations to Kakashe. Alrighty, moving along, we have Aus Haven for the final deck list of the third team. So this one looks pretty standard to me. It's just 3 copies of Goblin. And then aside from that, I think they've cut the 2 copies of the Adept, or Dial, can't remember, I think it's Adept. But yeah, anyway, so basically it's a very aggressive build. Nothing surprising, we all knew Aus Haven is a fairly powerful deck. Okay, next deck is Controll Abyss. Again, except this one's a different build from the previous one. It is going back to the Ektar/Lelouch package. So they're using kind of the milling in order to fill up the grave with the 2 costs. Of course, it also runs Azazel to drop the HP to 10 so you can get the OTK combo off. One of the main additions to this deck that I see right now is the 2 copies of the Thundering Roar. So because of how easy it is to reach Necrocharge 10, this card is both removal and also makes them discard a card, which rips out options from the enemy's hand. And of course, because it's discard a random card, right, and it's not they choose, you could potentially get rid of their one and only answer to your setup. So overall, this is a buff that I wouldn't say is negligible by any means, but at the same time, not sure how it would fare into Aus Haven in particular right now. I feel like Aus Haven will have a good time against this, but I do see the potential Controll Abyss against the other decks of the meta. The second place team, they ran Aus Haven, so looking at their list, they are running the, I think it's the GP top 4 list, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the one where they're not running the Seraph, but instead they're running 2 copies of White Wing. So basically, White Wing, when you get to the late game, you can bring back Aegis. And they're also running 3 copies of the Apostle of Repose. So again, we did see quite a bit of this in the SVE Master Championship. This would be considered a fairly standard list, I might say. So, yep, overall, strong list, pretty cheap. 34 USD apparently. Okay, moving along, last second place list, Disdain Dragon. So it's a list that we did not see at all in the SVE Master Championship in the top 8. But of course, it is a very flexible package. Of course, relying on the very powerful kind of Disdain engine. So let's have a look at what they're running. 1 copy of PTP, Lyrios to deal with the Aus Haven matchup. 1 copy of Erd again to get rid of the EX area. And then apart from that, it is just running the very standard Disdain package. No Genesis Dragon for finisher. It looks like they've just opted for the tech option so they don't die in the early game. And they can kind of answer the EX area as the game goes on. So that's Disdain Dragon, sorry. And then moving on to the first place list, so again with Ghost Patient Sword, except this one seems to be the heroic engine. So of course, as you guys know, there are 2 viable sword builds this particular expansion. The first one is a pure Usurpation Sword, and the second one is the hero package of the Usurpation Sword list. So this one, it does look like they are running all of the hero engine, that is, the bare minimum in order to kind of get the face damage in. And then basically finish them off with the late game curve of the Major Rain Omen of 1. So of course this is much more aggressive than the pure version, but it can run out of gas and you are a little bit at the mercy of your top decks, but overall it's still a strong variant of the deck. And then Silence Abyss, so this is very different from the first 2 as well. So this one is actually indexing into the random discount package. Of course, they are running 3 copies of Roll and Eye, they're running the Thundering Roar, they're running Crazed Executioner, so they really just want to rip cards out of people's hands. I think this is definitely good against everything other than Egg Haven, I would say. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think we haven't seen enough of this particular variant of Abyss. It's good to see that Vietnam is obviously experimenting with Abyss, given that they've got 3 different variants. But yeah, overall, this is kind of the Silence Abyss list I would be looking at if I were to play Silence Abyss this expansion. And then, of course, Egg Haven, very powerful deck once again. So let's have a look. They're running the... I think this is the first place list variant from the GP. So they're not running the goblins, which a lot of people have opted for in this particular format. Instead, they're just aiming for kind of more of a late game option. So Egg Haven, guys, you've probably seen at your locals. Ever strong deck, you'd expect to see it worldwide. But that is it for the Vietnamese top 3 teams. So if you do enjoy this video, make sure to give us a like and subscribe. And a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters, Rockstar Siege, Shirel Pasuka, Framework, Himanshu, Rise, and Yami and Okami. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to keep the site running. So thank you so much for your support. If you guys are interested in checking out the Patreon, we did just update the Umamisme guide for the $5 tier, and we also have a Egg Haven guide for the $5 tier. I'm currently under development for the Shadowverse Master tier. It's the Usurpation Sword list. So this is a pure variant, which is my preference in the current meta. The deck that really allows you to showcase your skill, and I will have a guide coming up for that soon. Also for the raffles, I do believe that's in a couple of days, so I think it's in 3 days. So if you're interested in coaching from me, make sure to kind of sign up for the Patreon. And then apart from that, I'll see you guys next time.